Hi, welcome back to the Political Beat. I'm Pat, this is Chip. We cover City Hall here in London, Ontario, and Chip and I are not in the greatest mood today, but maybe that's fitting given what we're about to talk about, which was a blow-up at City Council on Tuesday night, that even in sort of the annals of political squabbling, this one was a bit over the top, maybe a lot over the top. What they were talking about was development charges, which are not charged to builders in the downtown and the Old East, and the possibility, who build residential properties, and the possibility that maybe we will start charging them, and then we'll give them a grant to give them the money back. The upshot of all that is they're not changing anything. But what I wanted to talk about was the blow-up involving, Councillor Orser was certainly in the middle of it, and he's known to be blustery at times, but I would say he was absolutely outraged. I think there was a controlled chaos. It was a bit of a performance art trying to make sure that the developers who he admitted support his campaign, he seemed to be almost bragging that they support his campaign, that their wishes are protected.
He said what, Pat? This is a great quote. You got to share
I forget what it was exactly, but it was effectively talking about Medallion, which has built 200 some odd apartment units in Old East, and that we need to protect these people. We need to make sure they're taken care of because they support my campaign. And I thought,
pretty blatant.
I mean, there's a few things you could say to certainly compliment Medallion's work. I'm not sure that would be at the top of the list, but I digress. So there was a lot of screaming, yelling, swearing, finger pointing, scurrilous accusations. I felt like I was at a family reunion, but we were in fact at City Hall, and I'm wondering if you think, is this that big a deal?
Is your family as dysfunctional as this council, Patrick?
One day I hope we can aspire to being as functional as this council.
Oh, okay. Anyway, the question was, I'm still can't get over
is it a big deal? I mean, who cares? That's what I thought. Who cares?
It's a lot of posturing. It's a lot of getting ink. It's a lot of run up to the election. I think, quite frankly, I think a lot of these people are tired with working with each other, and I can understand what it's like being tired of working with someone, honestly.
Well, Nancy told Steve what I have told you many times. You are full of you know what. And she didn't say
what?
She didn't say it into the microphone, but I heard her say it, and I thought, that doesn't bother me. You want to blow off some steam, get in an argument. It doesn't faze me. Would you agree that that's kind of part of the thing, or is that bad?
Oh, I don't know. I know you've got to have 15 members of council, 15 different views, 15 different work ethics, 15 different vocabularies, 15 different agendas. Why couldn't they at least be a little bit civil? I mean, my family reunions were quite tame. We did tea, and we did pass the ring on a string, and we did Chinese checkers and stuff.
This is before people stopped inviting you to family reunions, right?
So I'm from that school, and it would be nice if they sort of worked together and respected each other. It would be nice.
We got bigger problems.
I'm old-fashioned.
People don't get along, which is interesting because by the time people see this, Matt Brown will have held his formal splashy campaign launch at the Aeolian Hall. We had a story on the front of Thursday's London Free Press.
An excellent story by yourself, Patrick, as I recall.
I don't like to brag, but it wasn't too bad. And I'm not saying I'm the best reporter at this table. I'm just saying name a better one.
Yeah, name a better one.
But if you look at what Matt's going to do tonight, he's going to talk about a few things. One of the things he's going to talk about is making council work together better, which plays into what we just talked about. More interestingly than that, though, I'm the guy you can trust, right? I'm the guy to restore trust in the leadership of London. So he doesn't utter the words Joe Fontana or criminal charges or anything like that, but clearly a reference to that. Spoke with one noted sort of political science super genius who said, kind of hard to argue with trust as an issue. Like, if you're against them, how do you say, well, who needs trust? You agree that that's a pretty effective little strategy?
I do. Yes, it's a broadside, and I think it taps into something that there's some anxiety about in this community.
Am I right that you seem really far from being sold on Matt Brown as truly a legitimate mayoral candidate? Am I right about that?
He's got a ways to go. He's very quiet. We don't know him too well. He's been very quiet. It's been 3.5 years on council, and a lot of people don't know what he stands for. He's come out strongly on the police budget, as I recall. He has not been forceful. Let's hope that it's a splash tonight, and there's a new tack, because, quite frankly, a little bit of sizzle in this election campaign would be good for everyone.
Yeah, and I think what I think is really interesting is just the dynamic, the difference between he and Joe Fontana is so stark. Their personal styles, their political styles are very, very different kind of guys. And to say nothing of the fact that Joe's in his mid-60s, Matt's 40.
It's like you and I. I'm intelligent and a lot of sizzle, and then there's you.
There's bland.
Yeah, Mr. Bland, yes.
So I think that what I find also interesting is it's the first time in probably 20 years almost since a sitting councillor has run for mayor against an incumbent mayor who we're assuming, as he has said, he will eventually enter the race. I think that creates a really interesting dynamic, and you can see it play out on almost every issue for the next 6 months of council, right? So I think it's really interesting.
And of course, the elephant in the room is the criminal charges facing the mayor at the end of May. How that's going to play into this? Will that ratchet things up? Will things tone down? Will somebody else jump into the race? Who knows?
And you expect that to be a 3 or 4 day trial, is that right?
Yep.
When he goes to trial, and it's on charges of fraud, breach of trust, and uttering forged documents, which is all related to his son's 2005 wedding and how it was paid for, wedding reception, and
when he was an MP.
When he was an MP. So we will have a resolution to that criminal matter probably by the end of May or early June, right?
Unless they reserve decision on it, but I can't imagine that. I would think, by June 1 we'll know.
Okay, excellent. Speaking of the mayor, and actually speaking of police budgets, the police have come back. Last year, the 2013 London police budget was in the order of $89 million. They have now come back and they've said, because of a few things, one of them being we thought there'd be more retirees or more departures than we actually got, we need more money. We need something around $270,000 to make up a shortfall we have. Police seem really, sensitive about the idea that they didn't have their numbers right down to the button. I don't really see what the big deal is. Nobody blames the bean counters, the accountants over there. The issue is, you got $89 million, and that's not enough. You saw the mayor rip up the letter asking for the money from the police on CTV. If giving him a platform to pull those kinds of stunts is your idea of journalism, well, then I guess that we're going to have to part ways there. But for me, I think that that's not the approach to take, but I also think that it's another example of where Brown and Fontana totally different. Totally different. Because in the 2014 budget process, you saw the police said they wanted a 4.4% raise. Joe said, give them 0. Well, you ask the police, they'll tell you. Matt Brown went to them quietly and said, I know you want 4.4%, but what are you okay with? And they ended up taking less. So I think it's another issue that's very that sort of exemplifies the difference between the two politicians.
Yep, quite different, night and day. But as I say, we still need to see more about Matt and learn more what he's all about, because quite frankly, he's been a low key, pretty low key. Will the campaign ratchet that up? Who knows? Let's see what happens.
Are we at a point where just, hey, you can trust me, is enough? Like, are we at a point in terms of
that assumes
public disdain and things of that nature?
Yeah, that assumes that there's widespread distrust of the incumbent. If he guesses right, and it sounds like this is what his tactic is, he may do well. If he guesses wrong, and people are seeing this as a cheap shot, he loses.
And he's going to talk about job creation also, and which is sort of a nebulous idea. Job creation and making council work better together. There's all those sorts of things. Preaching a sort of a positive working together kind of environment. But I just think that I'm surprised to hear that you suggest that maybe there isn't distrust or displeasure in the public with the mayor.
All I know is the messages I receive by email, and there's a core constituency for the mayor, just like Ford Nation in Toronto. There's a Fontana Nation in London, and I think it's a force. How much it's been nibbled away at the edges by recent doings, and it's not just, of course, the criminal charges, but it's the mayor's involvement with a charity that lost its charitable status and some other activities and other associates. We'll have to see how intact that core of his support is. And a lot of it last time, his support was a protest against the previous mayor's husband and the business about picking up the leaves. There were a lot of people who said, this is how I'm going to express my view. I'm going to vote for Joe. And who knows what's going to happen this time.
Very interesting. Now, I know you're irked and upset with how the editors have handled the story you're working on. Do you want to rip anything up before we go off the air in front of the camera, or do you want to leeve those stunts for somebody else? You know what, let's leave it for somebody else.
I just let something rip, but let's not go there.
Okay, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time at Elf Press.